Tag TV and Tag Radio be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by GlobalSpeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of GlobalSpeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. The year was 1986. Guess what a gallon of gas cost? 89 cents. The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded right after takeoff, watched by people live on TV around the world. Internet Mail Access Protocol opened the way for email. IBM unveiled the first laptop computer, and Intel introduced the 386 series of microprocessors. Top Gun was #1 at the movies. On TV, it was Magnum P.I., and Billy Joel, he topped the charts. The 80s gave birth to the home computer revolution and, oh yes, the founding of a company by directors that shared a unique yet common vision. Help others achieve goals through technology and trusted advice. Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, February 17, 2012, and this is a special TAG Premier Member Focus Showcase edition of Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. Imagine in 1986 believing you could create a company that would deliver the quality of a national firm, yet do it with the trusted, personalized service of a local business. Today's Premier Member Focus, we showcase BCG Systems, drawing from more than 25 years of experience with leading data management software, certified NetSuite and Gold Microsoft partners, and the most trusted business IT solutions in the market. More than just an IT solutions provider, though, they are trusted advisors. Up to the Premier Member Tech Talk Focus, Tino speaks with Ken Klika, Director, Networking Services for BCG Systems, responsible for design, implementation, and project management of IT infrastructure projects for small and medium-sized businesses. A noted speaker for Microsoft at their Worldwide Partner Conference and VTN Conference, as well as IMA, the Worldwide Association for Accountants and Financial Professionals. His more than 20 years trusted experience has earned him recognized specialized leadership in cloud computing, managed services, then client, architecture, virtualization, and Microsoft licensing. His insights into cloud computing will cover the spectrum from risk to benefits, its impact on the way organizations do business now and in the future, and listen for the key steps in making the move to the cloud as Tino showcases premier TAG member company BCG Systems and its director, Networking Services, Ken Klika.
Ken, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk today.
Thank you for having me.
Good place to start would be just tell us a little bit in your own words about BCG Systems.
Sure, I'd be happy to. BCG Systems is a business IT solutions provider. We work with small and medium businesses to help them implement, support cost-effective and valuable IT systems. It could be accounting solutions, customer relationship management solutions, or networking solutions.
And, today and for the last couple of years, I think there's been a lot of discussion about the cloud, and I know your company's involved with that. So what is cloud computing, and how are people using it today? And even if you can forecast out what you think it's going to look like a few years from now, how are people going to be using it?
Sure. I'm asked about cloud computing on a regular basis by my clients and prospects. Simply put, cloud computing is just using the Internet as a utility to provide subscriptions to hosted IT solutions or software. The idea with cloud computing is to decouple your having to buy hardware and software and put it into your business and support it, maintain it, and refresh it, and instead pay another organization to host it for you, and you pay them a monthly subscription. And there's many different flavors it comes in. Could be infrastructure as a service or platform as a service, but the most common one is what's called software as a service, or SaaS for short. And there are thousands of hosted applications that organizations can purchase that run the gamut of capability, and that market's really exploded, especially for small and medium businesses. I think every day someone comes up with another use. I find that there are some real common ones that people would probably be pretty familiar with. So you've heard of like Google Apps,
right?
Salesforce, Microsoft has their Exchange Online or CRM Online, and there's so many it's hard to even keep track of all of them today.
Well, the early adoption, I assume, is you would say is over, and now we're into the mainstream. I mean, what? It's hard to say what percentage, but just if you were to give a guess, in the big companies, it's pretty much everybody using it now, and if we look 2 or 3 years out, it's just going to become, mainstream in terms of the population using it.
I believe so, and that's from our organization's viewpoint, that's what we've seen happen. Mm-hmm. I'd say easily 50% of our clients use some form of cloud computing today, whether it's something simple like email or backups, or maybe something more complex as their accounting system hosted for them. I have some organizations that are very innovative that are like, how do I put everything online? And that's aggressive, admittedly, but that's how people are starting to think. I think part of it's due to what's called the consumerization of IT. More people have an expectation that they can have information easily at their fingertips because we have this expectation of availability. And cloud computing really meshes well with that expectation, whether you're an enterprise company or a small organization. The adoption rate's been very interesting to look at some of the statistics. I think that enterprise has been very fast to adopt cloud computing as they look to keep some of their costs low, because organizations tend to use more and more technology on a day-to-day basis. They don't want to keep adding to their army of IT staff, so outsourcing enables them to do that, and so does cloud computing. I can offload technologies that we used to keep in-house, pay somebody else to maintain it for me, and I don't have to focus on that. I think probably the most significant way that bigger companies look at it, though, is they're spending a certain amount of dollars on a yearly basis for IT, and they want to maximize the value they get out of each dollar they spend. But the statistics I've seen is we spend as much as 70% or 70 cents of each dollar on maintaining the stuff we already own, and only 30 cents on innovation or improving productivity. And cloud computing allows you to alter that, almost flip it in some cases. So big businesses as well as small. Some of my smallest clients are looking to use cloud computing today to lower costs and some of the other benefits.
Well, you've talked a bit about the benefits. Talk a little bit about risks. Are there any risks? I mean, occasionally here at the tag office, we'll hear about or read about security and
Sure.
just protection. I imagine if that is an issue, I'm sure there's lots of companies like yours working on that to eliminate or certainly reduce any risks.
Yeah, I think it's funny that it's hard for me to say to some organizations, but the reality is they're likely to have better security using cloud computing
Right.
than they do today.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing for some people to accept, but the reality is true. That's not to say that using cloud computing is without risk. I think there's some important ones, and the first one I would think about is you're trading lower costs for less control. And many organizations like the ability to have control over their systems, how they run, how they're configured, how they maintain them. And the important thing is that when you go to a SaaS model, when you go to cloud computing, you're typically giving that up. So whoever you're engaged with or subscribe to that particular piece of technology, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to evaluate what is their maintenance schedule, what's their service level agreement, do they have any financial requirements if they don't meet their SLA to pay me back or give me credits. And then you obviously want to look at things like privacy and security. Those are important. The other one I think that some people don't think about is there's a certain level of customization that we come to expect when we have software and hardware systems in-house, that we can make it run the way our business runs. And one of the things that when you go to a cloud computing model that you kind of have to get used to is, in many cases, not all, but in many cases, it's a one-size-fits-all model. So you're likely to have to use things a way that everybody else is, and you're not going to have as much flexibility. For many things, it's not important. And I would say that's one of the risks or cons in a way that is starting to change. In many cases now we're seeing that organizations are allowing you to have some level of customization that's independent of others. So there are some cons there, but I think that as the technology matures, we're getting to a point where they're becoming less and less important.
Well, if I'm one of the 50% companies that aren't yet dipping our toe in the water in terms of cloud computing, how should I think about that? When would be a good time to start thinking about moving to the cloud?
Today, immediately, as soon as possible. I think the thing that most organizations have to worry about is they're unsure where to get started. We're beyond that, as you said, that early adoption. So now we're into mainstream, and without a doubt, almost any technology that you consume today, you probably have a cloud computing option available. So what I typically recommend to my clients is, take a look at what I call the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And I mentioned them earlier. Email and backups are probably the most common ones that almost any organization can say, yeah, it's probably cheaper for me to do it this way. And it's not always the case, but most of the time when I look at total cost of ownership for organizations, it probably is cheaper to have it, to use a cloud option for those things. And typically you're also getting better capability. I think the other thing is that most organizations have more than likely something on their IT agenda that it's time to refresh it or upgrade or give me the latest version. Those are other very good times to take a look at, hey, instead of me updating to the latest version of the software, is there an alternative for me to use it online from the same vendor I'm comfortable with, or is there an alternative vendor that's got a great solution in the cloud that I can take advantage of?
So, I think the audience listening is going to have a pretty good sense of moving now, and you sort of touched on this, but what would be a logical first step or next step for a company listening in that might want to delve into this? I mean, certainly we'll want to give your contact information out and see how people can reach out to you to get into that more detailed conversation.
Well, I think the first thing to do is take a look at what you're spending today, whether it's your annual budget that you have that's recurring, or as I mentioned, the agenda items for the 2012. What are we expecting that we need to invest in from a business standpoint? But also you want to look at your partner. I hear pretty frequently organizations say, wow, I didn't know that existed, or why didn't anybody tell me about that? So the first thing to do is look at who your trusted solution partner is, who you go to for IT advice, and have a conversation with them. Get their understanding of what their take is on the cloud and how it affects your organization at a personal level, and then see, are they the right person? Are they the right organization? There's plenty of great IT providers out there that have that knowledge, so hopefully they all have one. But it's important that they have the right partner, and if they don't, they need to get one. That person, that organization will help guide them through some of these decisions, because there are a lot of options. You can almost have analysis paralysis because there are so many different options available. But I would recommend people don't be too fearful of it. Stick with vendors and partners that they're comfortable with, Tier 1 providers. I usually look at organizations and say, if you're happy with using their system today, and they have a good conversation, they have a good message around their new version that runs in the cloud, it's worth listening to.
So if they're interested in learning more from you about this, I think we're out of time, but I want to make sure you give a shout-out in respect to how they might contact you, or is there a website they can go to as well?
Absolutely. I appreciate that. My website's bcgsystems.com, bcgsystems.com, and they can ask for myself, Ken Klika, or some other professional with my organization, and we'd be happy to talk to them about what their options are.
Well, Ken, thank you for joining me on Tech today. I appreciate that your company is a premier member of TAG, and we'll be watching the progress on the cloud computing. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.